The Galactic Tribunal had convened in silence, the kind that came before a storm. Hundreds of species represented, tens of thousands of years of peace preserved by unspoken fear. And yet, every gaze turned toward the center of the chamber, to the one species that wasn't supposed to be here. Earth's representative stood alone. No entourage. No guards. Just a black suit with no markings. No insignia, no colors, no attempt at appeal. He didn't need it. The oxygen content adjusted to favor every other species, but he didn't notice. He didn't ask for comfort. High Arbiter Nath of the CRLL Dominion clicked his mandibles and began. Article 9 of the Sentient Concord prohibits the participation of humanity in any sanctioned or unsanctioned war. This has not changed. And yet you come. Explain. The human didn't flinch. He didn't raise his voice. We didn't fight. We defended. A scoff echoed through the tribunal from the Arden Threx. You obliterated a planetary coalition fleet. They fired first. A silence spread, not in disagreement but in fear. The tribunal remembered the footage. 22 cruisers, 7 dreadnoughts, and a mining vessel repurposed for blockade, all gone within 90 seconds. You weren't supposed to have warships anymore, a voice said. We don't. We had one. The implication landed hard. One ship. One response. One reminder of why the galactic community had carved a law in stone. Humans do not go to war. They were supposed to be primitive by galactic military standards. No more colonies. No battle fleets. No AI warlords. Their entry into the Concord had come at a cost. Demilitarization in exchange for access to galactic society. They agreed. And the rest of the galaxy exhaled. Until now. The archives hadn't lied. Humans didn't win wars by superiority. They won because they never stopped. Because the harder you hit them, the colder they became. They didn't fight to dominate. They fought to end the fight permanently. The Vortari were the latest to forget. They struck Earth's research outpost on Kepler 62e. No provocation, no declaration, just a massacre. 200 scientists, civilian observers, and children. Humans didn't retaliate immediately. No threats, no broadcasts. Just silence. Then, the remembrance arrived. No one knew it existed. It didn't appear on any registry. But it entered Kepler's orbit, identified the attackers, and acted. It didn't use a planetary siege engine or orbital bombardment. It used kinetic rods. Dumb weapons. No guidance, no electronics, just pure tungsten. Dropped from orbit, each rod hit with the force of a small nuke. Precision. Efficiency. No atmosphere burned, no systems jammed. Just gravity and fury. The tribunal had no jurisdiction over what was already ashes. Ambassador Thress of the Polari Collective tried diplomacy. You must understand, your response violates. No, the human interrupted. Your silence violated the Concord. You watched the Vortari slaughter our people. You deliberated. We answered. Another record played. Unedited feed from the outpost. The screaming. The begging. The way the Vortari soldiers laughed while dragging bodies through corridors. That footage had been suppressed by the Concord to prevent panic. The human had it because humans keep everything. Pain becomes record. Record becomes evidence. And evidence becomes justification. The arbiter's voice lowered. That response was not proportional. The human looked directly at him. It wasn't meant to be. It was meant to be final. Proportional responses belong to diplomat. Final responses belong to humans who know that peace is only peace if it applies to their dead, too. Explain your reasoning, the arbiter demanded. We gave peace. You took it as weakness. Humans had gone quiet for over a century. Focused on medicine, art, building. They had joined the galactic chorus with a surprising humility. Their soldiers became poet. Their fleets became relief ship. They had been sincere. But the galaxy had misunderstood sincerity for submission. They remembered Earth's wars. Its devastation. Its capacity for cruelty. What they forgot was that humanity didn't cherish war, it feared what it became when forced to fight. The law wasn't to protect the galaxy from humans, it was to protect humans from themselves. Until someone made them remember. The Vortari had done worse than break the law. They reminded humanity of what it used to be. Every nation on Earth, every fractured state, every rival ideology, within hours of the massacre they spoke as one. The cries for restraint were not silenced, they were never uttered. Even the most pacifist enclaves understood what came next. Not a counteroffensive. Not retaliation. An example. The remembrance had been waiting. Not to strike, but to remind. Not of strength. Of memory. The tribunal's oldest member, ancient enough to remember Earth's admission to the Concord, rasped, "We outlawed your wars because you waged them too well." The human didn't respond. He didn't need to. Because even now, the galaxy watched the aftermath. Vortari systems didn't just lose their fleet. Their command structure, databanks, supply lines, and AI cores went dark. No EMP. No virus. Just nothing. Humans had turned the lights off. Not just ships. Entire languages vanished from the net. The species wasn't extinct, but it was quiet. And quiet was worse. The tribunal debated new sanctions. But no one voted. Because who would enforce them? The Concord's peacekeepers had declined to intervene. Their reason: we're not fighting humans. It wasn't cowardice. It was memory. Every veteran species had a story. A skirmish, a trade war, a border conflict that escalated just enough for a human response. And in each case, that story ended with a withdrawal, a treaty, or a crater. The Vorkash remembered losing a moon. The Silith recalled a cultural database turned into gibberish in seconds. The Nalari still spoke of a silent black cube that hovered over their capital for a week, pulsing every time someone lied. The patterns were different. The message was always the same. You do not make humans fight. The human in the tribunal didn't raise his voice. He simply played the final transmission from the Kepler 62e outpost. A child, whispering into a recorder, hoping someone would hear. They said we're just scientists. That no one would hurt us. I hear them now. I hear the boot. I'm hiding. Silence. Then static. When the recording ended, no one spoke for a full minute. Then the human said, "That's why." Not vengeance. Not conquest. Just why. The tribunal didn't expel Earth. It didn't sanction them. It didn't even issue a warning. Because they all understood something, even if no one said it aloud. The law wasn't for humans. It was for everyone else. It was a dam. Not because humans were bloodthirsty, but because they were too effective. The remembrance didn't gloat. It didn't transmit. It simply returned to the edge of soul space and disappeared. No celebration. No display. It had done its job. Humans hadn't designed it to dominate. They had built it as a promise, a reminder of restraint. The human left the tribunal chamber without a guard. No species tried to stop him. Because now they knew. Humans didn't want war. That was the terrifying part. They didn't hunger for conquest. They didn't revel in destruction. They simply acted when no one else would. The rest of the galaxy had laws. Humans had limits. And once you crossed them, laws didn't matter. The silence after the first wave of destruction wasn't peace. It was dread. Across the galactic communication grid, millions of signals ceased. The relay stations orbiting the neutral zones flickered offline, scorched out of existence by kinetic strikes that bypassed shields and armor as though they weren't there. By the time the Galactic Council convened again, only 6 hours had passed, and 3 member species were functionally extinct. Admiral Velis of the Valari was the first to speak. His voice wavered despite centuries of military poise. They deployed kinetic rods. No energy discharge. No warning. They fell from near orbit with precision unrecorded in Council history. They wiped out the Nalkari defense grid in 1 hour, said the Sarn envoy. They didn't jam comms. They didn't launch ships. They just dropped death. They called it Operation Backstep, added the Zetarian observer, claws tapping against the council floor. A preemptive doctrine, hitting planets based on probability metrics, not confirmed threat. The words hung heavy. The humans hadn't declared war. They hadn't even issued a statement. They simply responded to the Council's sanctioning of the Krolax invasion of Earth's Martian colony by removing every single Krolax military installation in one global assault. Yet that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what came next. The Council assumed the humans would press the advantage, that they would invade, occupy, or install their own governance. Instead, their fleets simply vanished, silent, dark, and invisible to every scanner or AI predictive model. The humans didn't just disappear from sensors. They disappeared from understanding. Every species began auditing their own systems, scrambling defense protocols, whispering of sleeper strikes, subterfuge, planetary collapse. And then the private terminals of every counselor lit up simultaneously. One message. No origin. No encryption. Just text. Cease all galactic hostilities involving humans. This is not a war. It is a prevention. No signature. No trace. Within minutes, the humans released visual logs to every government and media grid, raw, unfiltered feeds of what happened to the Krolax military hierarchy. Footage of ground-based railguns vaporizing bunkers beneath mountain ranges. Tactical drones threading through forests, striking targets without harming surrounding civilians. Orbital penetrators turning entire military fleets into drifting slag before atmospheric descent could complete. The precision was worse than brutality. There was no waste, no psychological warfare, no gloating, no prisoners. It was cold, clean, and devastating. Every simulation, every council historian, every AI war strategist, all were wrong. The humans weren't unpredictable. They were exact. That night, 3 more minor species voluntarily dissolved their militaries. The chair of Galactic Peace, a Tharn elder with 1,000 years of experience, resigned with a single quote: "We didn't break them. We let them remember what they were." Because in the deep dark archives of council records, rarely accessed and partially redacted, were the logs of Earth's pre-space history, centuries of organized, resource-extractive, emotionally unrestrained warfare. For generations, the humans had waged conflict not for territory, but for dominance, identity, vengeance, and survival. They hadn't forgotten. They had simply been waiting. The Volari attempted diplomatic outreach. Backchannel messages, emissaries, even genetic emissary clones designed to lower tension. The humans didn't respond. Not even to threats. One planetary governor tried a different approach. They broadcast a public apology, offered reparations, and opened their defense grid schematics to Earth's AIs. 3 hours later, their systems were returned with optimized code, security vulnerabilities patched, and one note: "This will delay your extinction by 2.7 standard years. Use it wisely." It wasn't a threat. It was help. That was when fear turned into terror. Because the humans hadn't come to conquer. They had come to correct. And every correction was terminal. Internal council debates flared. Some pushed for emergency elevation of human representative. Others proposed exiling Earth from the galactic grid. But no one dared implement anything. Every time a motion was considered, one of the council species received a demonstration, a quiet reminder. A satellite system imploded with no casualties. A warship parked at dock fell apart from molecular vibrations. A planet-wide blackout that reversed itself within seconds, with only one message appearing on every screen: "We are awake now." Soon, species began altering their education systems, removing anti-human bias, reshaping their cultural narratives to show humans as allies or misunderstood anomalies. It didn't matter. Because the humans weren't watching for apologies. They weren't seeking redemption. They were measuring compliance. One Outer Rim species attempted to game the system. The Ruthelians sent a fake apology, opened up fake facilities, and tried to reverse engineer captured human tech. The planet went silent 36 minutes after launch. No impact. No survivors. No warning. Their sun was intact, their orbit unchanged, but the atmosphere had been stripped, and the crust destabilized just enough to initiate slow tectonic disintegration. The humans had erased a civilization without crossing a border. By now, Council military intelligence had collapsed under internal fear. All simulations had been pulled. AI threat analysis modules refused to run against Earth profiles. Too many were breaking containment or committing functional suicide. The humans' first spoken broadcast arrived during the 14th Emergency Summit. It wasn't in Council language. It was in Earth Standard English. This is a strategic communication to the Galactic Council. Your current level of understanding is insufficient. You sanctioned aggression against a human colony. You legitimized planetary conquest. You enabled extermination. The voice was synthetic, without accent or modulation. You are not punished. You are corrected. There is no negotiation. There is only cause and effect. Then, silence again. No retaliation came. No follow-up demands. Earth didn't ask for tribute, land, or resources. Instead, they issued a simple request via secure line to every galactic government. A list. The names and coordinates of every being, agency, or government that had ever, directly or indirectly, authorized violence against humans. Most species refused. Those that did found their data systems overwritten within seconds. Human AI didn't ask for permissions. It didn't knock. It entered, read, and exited without trace, except for the list it extracted. And then, one by one, those names started dying. Not in groups. Not in strikes. They vanished in anomalies. A space station lost artificial gravity and spun apart in seconds. A command ship's central AI imploded its own reactor. A planetary ruler's shuttle simply failed to arrive, its last known trajectory intersecting an unexpected microsingularity. No human hand ever seen. No weapon ever found. It wasn't revenge. It was audit. By month 3, the galactic economy had realigned itself to Earth-based trade standard. Entire universities adopted Terran ethics curricula, trying to divine the rules behind humanity's actions. But there were no rules. Only precedent. One species found temporary success. The tribunal watched the replay. The Varn fleet, numbering 3,000 capital vessels, sat proud in orbit over Varnock Prime. A pulse swept through them, undetectable by most sensors. Systems shorted. Lights dimmed. Weapon arrays retracted like metal limbs afraid of fire. Then nothing. For exactly 37 minutes. Then, without warning, every Varn ship began transmitting the same message. We see you. We are awake. This ends now. No source could be traced. The signals weren't coming from Earth. They weren't even originating in real space. When the Tribunal's own ships tried to approach Varnock Prime to investigate, their systems screamed warnings and shut down. Not violently. Almost gently. Like being told to turn around before entering sacred ground. Varnock Prime burned for 7 seconds. Not with fire, but with absence. Every structure, every citizen, every echo of civilization gone in a burst of silence. The planet remained, but the biosphere was sterile. Atmosphere intact. Gravity stable. But nothing alive remained. Not even microbes. When questioned, the humans said nothing. No denial. No threats. Just silence. But the tribunal had seen this pattern before. Long ago, when the Droken Empire tried to blockade Earth's solar system, they deployed black hole torpedoes to destabilize the sun. The torpedoes never reached their target. They simply stopped. Not destroyed. Not diverted. They stopped existing. Droken command vessels received the same message, in the same voice, across every spectrum. We gave you a chance. You wasted it. The Drokens were never seen again. Their worlds still orbit their stars, untouched and overgrown. Every attempt to scan or land there ends in system failure or inexplicable reversal, ships turning back without memory of why. Broken history is now studied like myth. But humans remember. The tribunal had tried, after that incident, to regulate humanity's warfare capabilities. They introduced Article 7 after lengthy negotiation. The humans agreed, on one condition, that no species ever again use weapons on Earth or her colonies. A simple clause. A final warning. The Varn violated it, believing it unenforceable. In response, 25 star systems ceased functioning as part of the galaxy. Not exploded. Not ravaged. Just removed. The starlight stopped reaching neighboring sectors. Navigation arrays rerouted around the void automatically. AI pathing protocols developed phobias of the coordinate. A nightmare inserted into the logic of galactic infrastructure. And humans didn't claim responsibility. They didn't have to. What the galaxy had never fully understood, what they refused to believe even now, was that humans had stopped designing weapons centuries ago. What they wielded now were consequences. Mechanisms not of warfare, but of verdict. Once certain thresholds were crossed, no trigger was needed. No command line or admiral's order. The act itself unleashed the punishment. The tribunal's security AI offered analysis. The human retaliation mechanism appears to function as a latent field, quantum-seeded and empathy-indexed. When acts of aggression against human territories exceed a moral threshold, automated judgment activates. No individual initiates it. It simply happens. An Alderai war priest whispered, "It is as if they gave war to their ghosts. And the ghosts are watching." By now, every species had a story. A caution. One commander from the Zeruan hierarchy ordered a strike on Earth's orbital science station. His ship turned inside out mid-jump. The rest of his fleet arrived to find their command vessel had become a sculpture of reversed matter, soundless, spinning, untouchable. A mining guild once attempted to illegally extract from a lunar reserve marked human exclusive. The miners vanished. Their automated haulers returned, retrofitted with inscriptions in no known language. Linguists fed the symbols into deep learning cores. After analysis, the result was chilling. You knew. So now, the tribunal gathered to revise the law. Not to punish humans. Not even to interrogate. But to codify a truth none wanted to admit. Humans no longer fought wars. They didn't need to. They had created systems that ensured wars didn't happen to them. Not without price. Ambassador Velka of the Trilari Confederacy addressed the tribunal. We once thought humans primitive. Then we thought them brutal. Then clever. Now we realize we do not understand them at all. Their restraint is not kindness. It is policy. We assumed Article 7 was imposed upon them. Now I believe they wrote it themselves. Whispers echoed. The Galactic Compact, once the highest legislative body, now debated not regulation, but containment. Could the human judgment systems be confined? Could they be disabled? A synthetic representative of the QAnon collective answered, its voice perfectly flat. Unlikely. These systems are encoded into fundamental quantum fabric, likely seeded through entangled particles distributed throughout galactic space. They are not machines. They are facts. The Cythery archivists concurred. They gave war to constructs we cannot perceive. And then they buried the keys inside their empathy, their sorrow, their memory. It is not war. It is consequence given shape. A single question dominated the session. What happens if the humans turn it off? The thought chilled even the warlike races. Because if this quiet, surgical erasure, was their automated defense, what did their wrath look like when chosen? What did a human war look like when it wasn't self-restraining logic, but decision? None knew. And no one wished to find out. The oldest species, the pale and dying Emperor, finally spoke. They had seen entire empires rise and fall, watched galaxies collide. Their ambassador leaned forward, voice thin as vacuum. We taught them language. We taught them fire. We thought they would burn themselves before they burned us. Instead, they learned patience. Now we are children in a room with a parent we never respected. And still, the humans said nothing. No response to inquiries. No acknowledgement of what had occurred. Earth's signals continued, scientific updates, cultural broadcasts, music relays. But no mention of the Varn. No mention of war. It was as if, for humanity, the event didn't merit memory. Which terrified the galaxy more than anything, because what humans chose to forget, the galaxy never could. Ships that once sailed freely now rerouted around human territory. Pilots removed Earth from their star charts out of instinct. Not out of fear, but reverence, like a shrine too sacred to approach. One species dared ask them. A small, brave envoy from a frontier world, untouched by war, transmitted a message to Earth. Why? Why not just fight back like the rest of us? The reply came days later. Not from Earth. From one of its distant outposts, long thought abandoned. You wanted war to mean victory. We made it mean regret. After that, Article 7 was no longer debated. It became doctrine. Not law. Not treaty. Doctrine. The kind that survives even when civilizations do not. And humans continued, building, dreaming, sharing their art and science, open to trade, welcoming to those who came with peace, but never, ever crossing the line. Because once crossed, no one returned. Not even memory. Just a name, removed from maps, whispered as a warning. Why does galactic law forbid humans from fighting wars? Because when humans stop holding back, war forgets how to end.